They keep us in chains by show of hands. Who else is sick and tired of the same 1%? Trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and for the millions watching at home, DCK Productions proudly brings to you the greatest podcast in the world! The greatest podcast in the world? Suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. No, you suck it. I appreciate it if you both suck it. Suck it!
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome everybody to Suck It! I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome. Derek, how is everybody this evening? It is I cannot believe it is Friday already. What is going on? That is crazy. It's been a fast week. It's been a great week. It's been a fun week. And I'm just excited to be here as always. So, let's see here. What do we have? We did a lot this week. We had Tim Moss on Monday, and then I had a private investigator and Andy Kay on Tuesday, and it's just been crazy all week long. I had Crockpot Mom Lisa Kozich on Wednesday, along with the band Ebb and Nova, and then last night I had Angela Joseph and the band Once Revealed. It's been a crazy week, and I can't believe it's already over. Friday is here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. But we're going to close the week out with a little bit of fun. So tonight I get to interview an interviewer. That's always fun. That's actually one of my favorite things to do. Someone else who does what I do. However, he does it a lot better than me because he's been doing it, a lot longer than me. So, test my chops. So tonight I have with me the host of Movie Reviews and More, Mr. Brian Sebastian. So let's bring on Mr. Brian right now. Hey, how are you?
Hey there. I'm doing good. How you doing?
You know what? I am well. It's been a great week. It's been a good week. It's been, one of those weeks where I'm just proud of what I do, and I'm ready to move on to next week, but wrap this one out with a bang.
Good. Congratulations on your success. And I love your opening.
Thank you. That was many weeks in the progress. It took me, tweaking and this and that, finally getting it the way I wanted it to. So it took me a while to get right. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, because you have been doing this, and I don't take notes, by the way. So everything I do, it comes from memory and verbal conversation. That's how I am. It's a conversation. It's not an interview. That's how I like to talk about it.
That's how I do it too.
Yeah. So if I say something wrong, I say something wrong. But if memory serves me correctly, you have been doing this since '94. Is that correct?
Yeah. I started Movie Reviews and More October of Well, actually, yeah. The concept came October of 1993, but I've been in radio since 1982.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you started radio in '82, which was, again, like I said, you've been doing a lot longer than me, because that was only a year after I was born. So you've been doing this almost as long as I've been alive. So you definitely trumped me on that one. So what made you decide to start the Movies Review and More?
I came out of home video, believe it or not. Remember video stores?
Correct.
There's only one left, really. One Blockbuster left in, I believe it's I think there's actually two. One's in Oregon, and they say there's one in Alaska. So I think there's two, and not really one.
Yeah, there's the one in Alaska is the. Yeah, there's one in Alaska. I know that one for a fact. I follow them on Twitter, and they probably have one of the funniest Twitter feeds ever. It is hilarious. God, but yeah, Blockbuster. I loved Blockbuster. Friday nights going to get 3, movies, and, just binge watching them over the weekend, and hopefully you didn't, you got them back by, Sunday at noon before you got a late charge.
Because of those late fees, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
everything came out of there. I call myself a movie whore. It's one of those things where you learn to. I thought you had to become a critic. I thought you had to watch everything. So I watch still almost everything that's sent to me, all the links and stuff like that. But we used to have 3 stores, and it was called Extravaganza Video, and I was the manager. So you had 3 different stores in 3 different locations, 3 completely different audiences. So I had to learn to know to get the audience in San Fernando Valley. They like comedy, family, and action. They hated foreign, no adult films there, and then you might forget suspense thrillers. They went into that. Brentwood, California, they loved sci-fi, suspense thrillers, foreign films. Brentwood, California, basically only like a mile, a quarter of a way. They liked suspense thrillers, foreign films, action films, and comedies. So I had to learn what to order at that point. So when you had a movie called Hard to Kill, Steven Seagal, San Fernando Valley wanted it. Brentwood, not so much. Westwood, where all the kids, college kids were, yes. So I learned the audience from that. So like if you came into the video store at that point, I would know your taste because I would have seen everything because I ordered everything. And then those days, you made your money back in 6 weeks later from one rental off of one tape. You can imagine that. Back in that day, let's say 91, 9 to 96, the average VHS tape at that point was $98 and I think 34 cents. It took 6 weeks to make that back at a $325 rental.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a thing called quarter day. So I actually almost put a Blockbuster out of business because I could bring our rates down. They couldn't because they were corporate. So I started to learn how to do things like that, not going to the corporate world, but always going up against them to outmaneuver them, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you got started with the movie stuff. Interesting.
Yeah.
So from there, it kind of spun off into your own radio show. Or what exactly transpired?
No, I was I was working at Power 106. I was doing promotions, and then I'd go in at night and do fill-ins. I saw the world of music changing. They were coming in with Chicago house music, which I hated at that point. La Isla Bonita, Madonna was out with that. I hated that. I saw the music changing. The wave came in. I saw that. So we were on number one station going up against Kiss FM. If you ever remember hearing Rick Dees, he was our competition in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is the number 2 market. Obviously, New York was the number 1, Chicago number 3. So I saw the music started to change. And I said, wow, Johnny Carson is starting to get out. Who was going to be his replacement at that point? You had Arsenio Hall on Paramount, Joan Rivers, remember that, George Carlin, Jay Leno, Chevy Chase. They're all wanting to take the Johnny Carson seat. And they all failed. And I said, if they can't do that, how would I have any luck doing anything TV? So I was like, let me just stick to radio. And then voiceovers, that made sense. So going from home video to traditional radio, watching it, the first changes, and then getting into voiceover at that point.
Gotcha. Okay. Because actually that was kind of a similar transition for me as well, because I do voiceover as well, but radio, podcast is how I started as well. Because I also do stand-up comedy as well, which I absolutely love. But this right here, this is my home. I love everything about this, so I can definitely understand that aspect of things. So, why movies, of all things? Why movies?
Because I was doing music before that. I did everything that I wanted to do in the music business. So I was a disc jockey, catching the tail end of disco. If you can think about that.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
What was happening at that point, you think of movie soundtracks, if you ever saw The Big Chill, The Big Chill had what music in it? It had all Motown in it. So
Correct.
for 4 years, I got tired of listening to music. And what it was, movie soundtracks brought the movie music listening back into my life. So imagine, it's 4 years I didn't listen to music. So in those 4 years, Elena Marcette, I can't remember the other lady's name. She came in at the same time. She reminds me of Sharon Stone, but it wasn't her. Was it Jagged Little Pill?
Yeah, Jagged Little
Whoever
Pill.
sang that song?
That was Alanis.
Yeah, it was
that.
that.
That was Alanis Morissette.
So it was Alanis, and there was somebody else who came in that I liked. The name will come to me later. Sheryl Crow. So
they
were coming in.
Yeah,
women were coming in at that point, and was like, and that's kind of what brought me back in. And at that point, you're starting to see CD-ROMs. You're starting to see hardware for computers to come in, and I'm seeing the changes of everything. DVDs were starting to come in at that point. VHS weren't being pushed out yet, but you could see the tide. And then you had CDs. When you're starting to see all these things start to come in, you see the changes of everything. Mm-hmm. And then literally 3.5 years later, you had the .com area come in right before the turn of the next decade coming in. So with all these new changes, you had to be able to incorporate stuff. And if you could do that, you could survive. If you didn't, you had a whole new young generation coming in. I call them the .comers. They came in the 99. Most of them left in 2001. But in that time, think of Mark Cuban. He had broadband.com. Where's my friend Mark right now? Owner of Dallas Mavericks and just a visionary.
He is. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying even applies to today. I mean,
absolutely
the evolution.
Look where you are.
Exactly. I mean, the changes. I mean, because you've got to learn and adapt, and you've got to learn and adapt. But then at the same time, what one person's doing, you can't say, "Oh, I want to do that too." No, you got to come in and do something different, and you have to consistently be different all the time. Otherwise, it's going to be, Ike, why'd you switch from Facebook to YouTube? But you have to be constantly be switching, you're switching it up and keeping it fresh and stuff like that. I mean, back in the 90s that was one way, because especially with all the different technology changing. But then now look at what we're doing today, especially with COVID going on. I mean, we can't even go to the movie theaters anymore. Everything's now virtual, video on demand, streaming, and all this other shit. And it's like, it's confusing, and looking forward, I don't even know what's going to be going on in the next 6 months.
I can tell you what's going to be on in the next 6 months. You just said a little bit of it. Here's the thing: if you're not being able to adapt, to be able to be flexible, and to be able to change, you're not going to survive this, because you will definitely lose your life for one, and or your business, if not both. So imagine that situation. So I've just, you know how you opened your scene, saying how busy you did week went and how fast it went. Well, we haven't slowed down. I just turned into 5.9 million views a day today and counting. I'll be at 6, who knows, within the next 7-8 days, 6 million views and counting. By the end of September, I'd like to be at 8 million views a day. By the end of the year, 10. By April 2nd of next year, I'm going to have 20 to 25 million views. I'm down on record saying that. I've been saying it for a year. Sometimes these things take a little bit longer because you have more things coming in. By April 2nd of 2021, I will have 850 million views in 1 month. Imagine that. No one will be able to beat me. Nobody in the world.
Not yet.
Hey, competition is always good, Derek, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I'm nowhere near that. I mean, I'm literally 1% of what you're getting. I'm at 25,000 a day.
But I'm telling you where I'm going to go as a vision. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By April of next year.
Saying where I'm going to be.
Oh yeah, by April of next year, which would be right around the 1 year mark for the show. For the new iteration of the show, because there was an original show that started back in January, and then that it morphed into this show. So the new iteration of this show will be April of next year, and that I want to be at 50,000. So I want to double it by then. So
you got a goal. That's all it takes.
But I mean, again, it's still astonishing to me knowing that this show 4 months, total 7 months I've been doing this. And I'm already at 400,000 a month. A year ago, non-pandemic, that would have never happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
It's all about timing.
Exactly. It takes years and years, but there's other people that have started around the same time as I did, nowhere close to where I'm at. So it's like, okay, so maybe I'm on the right track and doing the right things, and I'm keeping things different, and I'm, so obviously you're doing those right things if you're way up there in those amount of views. So it's all about, again, especially now
Well,
you're going.
I always say I do it backwards. I got into radio backwards. I got into radio with news radio. Have you ever heard of Merv Griffin? Here's the thing. I didn't go to college to graduate it. I went to college to get the job that I wanted. The guidance counselor said, no, that's not how it works. You got to take your general mode classes. I said, what if I get the job that I want before I graduate? He goes, don't worry. He goes like this. Don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. He was wrong. So I started to see these people starting to give me wrong guidance at my, when I was going to college. I was never going to go to graduate. I was going to be a disc jockey. I didn't need math as a disc jockey. I just didn't. So that's how I saw it. So I see things differently, if that makes sense. It's almost like I'm happy for you. I'm happy for anybody who can pick up a mic or whatever and make it their own. The thing is, anybody can do it. The realization of that is that not everybody can do it and get sponsorships and get the views. Because I don't go by followers, I don't go by subscribers, and I don't go by likes. You can unlike something, you can unsubscribe, and you can unfollow, but you can't unview a view. So all my things are only views. That's it.
Yeah. And that's what I base it on too. I mean, but unfortunately, in some cases, when you're looking at sponsorships and other stuff like that, I mean, they do look at your your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter and see your engagement levels and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, but that's all fine and dandy. But not everybody that listens to a podcast or watches a YouTube show is going to go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page and click that like button because I'm posting about a show that I'm going to do later. They might just say, oh, he's doing a show later. Okay, done. And then they're not going to like it. It's one of those things that's just weird.
Or they like it for that minute and go back and say, oh, no, I don't really like it, and unlike it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to have the amount of subscribers that I do, but at the same time, it's all about the views. It's all about the listens, and that's what it really comes down to.
The good thing of what you're doing, Derek, is that you got those. So keep it going. Mm-hmm. Keep it going. Oh. Don't change what's working for you. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, my platform and what I do is different because I've taken 3 niches and turned them into one. This show is about entertainment, the show is about comedy, and it's about mental health. And that is something that nobody in this marketplace of the 800, 900,000 podcasts in the United States right now are doing. It's either, comedy, entertainment, or mental health by itself, and they keep it lighthearted and to the point all the time. I don't do that. I make fun of my bipolar disorder with people like you on a daily basis because that's what I like to do, because I like to let people know, hey, we survive. So that's what I do, and that's what's gotten me the attention that I've gotten. But for you to be doing this now, just the show, almost 30 years. And for where you're at now,
here's the thing, though. Well, it's been that much a different way because remember, we just evolved. So I set this up October 3rd of 2018. I started changing things around because I saw the pandemic coming. I just didn't know what the name of it was going to be. I saw all these small businesses losing that, and I was warning all these people. I can tell you how many. The only thing I can't tell you is how many phone calls I made, but I can tell you how many emails, how many companies have been contacted. I like stuff that's environmentally friendly, sustainable. When I was doing gifting suites, I said film festivals 3 years ago were going to be dead. Look where we are. Virtual film festivals, they don't really work. And I was in the film business of screening and watching movies. I'm a movie critic. But I've been getting links, my God, since 2008. So that told me something there when I was on my ranch. I was on a ranch, my host ranch, for 4 years and 3 months. And so I knew what it was like to be out in the country. I knew what it was like, get in smell like manure, but I didn't know it, and go see a screening at the Man's Chinese in Hollywood. And I'm sitting in the theater. I'm like, oh my God, I smell like horses. And then it's actually a movie premiere. If you can imagine that, I was like embarrassed, because sometimes you jump off a horse or you just be doing everything. Should I go change? I got to go back. You got to put the horse blankets on. It's a lot of stuff. Was it worth doing it? I'm like, let me just go.
Yeah.
It was interesting. So I learned a lot by doing that. So sort of like what you're doing, it's really no difference, because I started doing a public access. Remember that? Public access?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got accredited. My co-host, if you've never heard of him, his name was Bill Margold. Bill Margold was the leading authority on the X-rated side. If you ever saw Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg and even Nina Hartley, everybody in there, well, yep. Burt Reynolds played his character. That's who he was. So he was on every talk show, everything.
Gotcha.
But what he did, he was on the X-rated side, but he did mainstream movie reviews for 44, 45 years on a paper called LA Express, like the free newspaper that came out. Inside were just ads for stuff. Yeah. So he always had the back page. 44 years, if you can imagine that. So his favorite films were High Noon, The Wild Bunch, everything like that. He and I were co-hosts. So he gave me the opportunity to learn how to do things again backwards, like having a nude and topless bowling, like having nude and topless golf. We used to have private events. We never got caught, and they were fun. And that's how I learned how to do marketing a different way. So, like I said, I love your background. I like the stuff that you're doing. You're doing it your way. It's no different than how I did it with public access.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never went to school for this. Well, I kind of did.
You didn't have to.
No, absolutely not. I mean, now I've spent a ton of money, studying, doing online courses and learning this and learning that and watching video after video after video and just, taking notes here. And I've been doing it for years because I've always wanted to do this. And prior to this, like I said, I am and was a stand-up comic. I was a musician and I was a professional wrestler as well. So the entertainment thing has been in my blood for nearly 20 years. Oh no, shit. 21 years. I started when I was 18. So, but
so I grew up in Connecticut, Derek. So I was always around WWF wrestlers then, now WWE. So I go back to Bruno Sammartino right up to when The Rock comes in. I welcomed The Rock coming in 2001 for Mummy Returns. So a lot of those wrestlers were friends.
In 2003 is when I started training to become a professional wrestler. 2002. I'm sorry, 2002. And I was actually trained by, so you might know him, Dory Funk Jr.
Of course, the Funk Brothers.
The Funk Brothers, yes. I was trained by Dory Funk Jr. in Ocala, Florida. And I did that until 2013 when I broke my neck in a car accident. Right. Yeah, so it was, so again, entertainment and, talking and all this stuff has always been in my blood. So this was just a natural next progression, even though this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've wanted to be in radio for a long time, but I saw that downward spiral of radio happening for a long time, especially once, XM and then Sirius. And then once they combined, I was like, oh, yep, terrestrial radio's done. It's all about internet and XM Sirius, that's what it's all about now.
Now, if you remember before that, what the down from that side was Sean Fanning from Napster, remember?
I was just getting ready to say Napster, yep. Napster started off.
When I was seeing all that stuff, when I was on Power 106, so I went from Power 106 to The Wave, which was easy listening music, but all jazz, with guess what? No disc jockeys. We were getting paid $15 an hour, 6-hour set, just to play with the knobs. I said, this is nice money, but disc jockeys like to be heard, right? It was about the voice, right? Mm-hmm. So again, we saw the tide changing, and that's when I learned.
Yeah, yep, and that's why this has become a popular platform and so on and so forth. So let's talk movies, because I've been wanting to talk movies with you all week since I got the email. So, movie theaters are starting to reopen. AMC reopened this week, I believe it was, but they're selling tickets for 15 cents.
Right.
So right now, the only movies that I know for a fact are hitting theaters is Unhinged, came out today, I believe. Then next week or in 2 weeks, you got New Mutants coming out. Then you've got the Bill and Ted movie, but it's simultaneously going to theaters and video on demand. So where do you see this going? I mean, do you think theaters
It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And you know why? Because all the movies have been pushed to next year. All of them. Except James Bond hasn't been pushed yet in December. And Top Gun, not quite yet. But they're going to be moved to next year. The reason for that? Because they got to make that money back. They're not so confident in making it back on demand yet. And Tenet, which was supposed to open, Christopher Nolan, they delayed it 3-4 times. No, so it's opening in China. But China's fully not open. So I was saying this. So here's a question from me that I've been asking everybody. Derek, would you go to the movies?
Nope.
Let me ask you now why. Why won't you go?
Because I don't trust them.
Right. So I've asked 78 people. All 78 said no for that same reason. Because here's the thing. Do you think just on the airplane, they turn down all the tabletops and wipe those down, the laptops behind each seat? The answer is no. They don't have time to do that. Do you think they're going to scrub every movie chair in there in between showings if you've only got 10 people in there? The answer is no. How do I know that? Because I deal with my favorite theaters, Lemley Theaters, which is the oldest family-run business. I'm afraid they might not make it, and I haven't figured out how I can help them. But I was reaching out to Regal Theaters. Where are they located? Tennessee. How many viewers? I have 3.7 million viewers a day out of there, and only 5 shows in Tennessee. I've been reaching out to them to 2014. They were in trouble, and they were in trouble then. They're really in trouble now. So the 15 cents thing is just to get anybody to go. But what are they going to see? There's no movies. And here's the other thing. No matter if it's Georgia or Florida, red states or whatever, or blue states, I wouldn't go there. I spent 4 months in Georgia last year going to theaters. Are you here to tell me I'm going to go pay the movie to go see the movie that's not coming out, that's not worth my time, that I might get sick in because you're breathing the air? For one, whether you believe or not, you got to wear your mask in, you got to wear your mask out, you got to wear your mask in the concession stand. But here's the thing, Derek. What happens when the lights go out? Do you not think that people aren't going to take their mask off, be talking, screaming, crying, eating popcorn and all this stuff, coughing and stuff? And remember, it's not that big because you have to have every other seat. So it's still recycled air. No difference from an airplane. They could say they have the best filtration system, but I don't believe it because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. And it sucks because one of the biggest things, I mean, I'm a huge nerd, I'm a huge movie buff. But one of my, things obviously behind me, screams Marvel. And I was anxious to see, Black Widow and start Phase 4 back in May, but I couldn't do that. Now it's supposed to be November 2nd, but that ain't going to happen either. Or November 4th, whatever it is. That ain't going to happen either. So now it's like, all this crap is going on, and then it's, but I think Disney is testing the waters. Because on September 4th, Mulan is going to hit Disney Plus as a premium level.
Are you going to pay $30 to see that?
Actually, we already plan on it.
Okay. See, I wouldn't.
Well, the thing about it is if I was going to take my daughter to the movie theater and do it, it'd be $45 minimum.
That's true. But for me, I get movie passes, but I also still go to pay to do it. But my thing is, I like to go into the movie for the experience. I'm sure just like you do. My thing is, that's my getaway. For at least 2 hours, I can turn my phone backwards, even though it's ringing and still texting. At least I can enjoy the movie and I have an ideas and I can be entertained. And I'll walk out of there happy. I can't do that. And I'm already watching. My Derek might this is not on my laptop today, but I usually have 3 laptops going, my phone, 2 phones, and a tablet. That's my setup with everything. At the same time, I'm watching the screenings on one screening while I'm doing emails, a bad movie. And when I go upstairs, I watch a good movie. So I'm still watching 2.5, averaging 2.5 a day. Even though it's more than that, it's always been the average.
Yeah. My setup is a laptop, a desktop, my TV, and 2 cell phones.
Well, you're bipolar, so that's how we work, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got so much going on right now because I'm constantly making sure that every feed is looking good, and I have this news scroll in front of me, and I just so much going on. But um, it's but at the same time, I love that experience. Like I'll never forget last year sitting down at Alamo Drafthouse and watching the greatest film to ever hit the airwaves, and that is my opinion. And I will say it the day I die, unless something comes up a better. But watching Avengers Endgame, that movie, I walked out of there immediately said that was my favorite movie of all time. It hit me harder than I've ever thought a movie ever could. That was 31 years of my life finally hitting the big screen, and it was just amazing. But watching it from Alamo, eating my steak and cheese sub while I'm drinking a beer was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was me, my entire family, and my best friend and her husband, and it was just fantastic.
What showing did you go to?
That was what do you mean? For Endgame? We went to the we saw it. No, we saw it Friday night at 8:00. So we did like the 8:00 Friday, yeah.
Was it packed, right?
Oh, it was packed. And if I didn't buy tickets on the day they were released, which I think was like January or February, before the May release or March, whatever it was, May release. Yeah, I bought them that day, the day they were released, because they were sold out across the country that day.
What state are you in?
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
So yeah, right outside of DC. But I get what you're saying, but at the same time, since I'm such a fan of that franchise, I'm just ready to see the next thing. Now, there's certain movies that I would not want to see at home. Maverick being example. I would want to see that in a theater. But just because I'm so much of a fan of what's going to happen next, and I want to see Phase 4 kick off, I don't care if it's in a theater or at home. I just want to see Black Widow and see how it starts, because it's confusing to me, and I can go online because there's been spoilers thrown out there, but if they're really real, I don't know. But I don't care. I don't want to know. But how does this fit in? It takes place after Civil War, so everything. It's been 4 years since Civil War, so what are we doing? So I really want to know how it all fits in. So I don't care if it's that's the one movie I just don't really care about as far as that goes, because I just want to see it so bad. But I get your point. But at the same time, I think
that's why everything Marvel is moved to next year, because you got to remember this. They've got a 5-year schedule of all their dates. They pushed it like an extra 6 months.
Well, everything was pushed back to the next date. Yeah. So everything got pushed back by one set of films or whatever. But again, they haven't made the change yet, because like I said, Black Widow is still set for November, and I'm almost positive, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're more involved than I am, but I think they're going to see how well Mulan does before they make that jump, because I think they're releasing Mulan and New Mutants at the same time. Now, New Mutants is not going to be nearly the same movie as Black Widow. I mean, people are confused by it. Disney and Marvel are saying it's part of the MCU, but it's not, and it's weird. And so, I think they're going to use those as a determination on whether or not they're going to stick with the movie theater, push it back next year, or use Disney Plus. Because I think Disney Plus it could go either way. I mean, that platform has, I think it's at 80 million subscribers.
That's the only thing that saved Disney's ass.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, figure that. 80 million at $7 a month. That is a lot of damn money. It's ridiculous.
But here's the thing. It's not saving them, because they're still in debt from buying 20th Century Fox. Why did they buy 20th Century Fox? Because they wanted X-Men.
They wanted X-Men back. Absolutely. That was the sole reason. That was the only reason.
That's the only thing that they wanted.
Avatar. They wanted Avatar too, because they already had that.
Yeah, well, Avatar came.
Correct, but they did want the franchise, because at that point they had already made a deal with James Cameron to have the Avatar world at Animal Kingdom in Orlando. So they already had some ties to Pandora and the entire world, but they wanted that franchise. So I think it was a combination of that and Oh, and plus the Star Wars rights, the original Star Wars rights. They didn't have the first 3 rights. So I think it was a little bit of everything, but I think X-Men was the biggest one, and then getting Star Wars and getting Avatar was their second primary thing. But I think that was the
Well, if you ever get a documentary, it's on Hulu. It's on his last name is Hain. He's the person that saved Star Wars. So George Lucas was always in debt to him because the executives didn't get Star Wars. They just didn't get it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting when you see the history of certain things that weren't supposed to come out.
Yeah, I gotcha. Star Wars is still one of the most, mind-boggling things ever. When, back in the day, to think about when that first one hit, when New Hope hit, nobody gave a shit. And then within 2 years, and then, Empire hitting, it started a whole new, legion of everything. Star Trek kind of started it, but nothing, blew up the way New Hope did. And it's just started its own genre of everything since then. And I still don't think they get it. The Star Wars franchise, I still don't think they get it. Especially now with what Disney's saying about retconning the entire last trilogy.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. I'm like, those were 3 great movies. But I guess they're wanting to bring George Lucas back in, and the only way he wants to do it is by writing his own, sequels. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, George, as you know, George sold everything to them. He's not happy with what the end results are and stuff, but he's not in control of it anymore. So
he's not.
He's always tried his own way.
Yeah, but he's the one that made that decision. He's the one that said, "Oh, $4 billion, that's too much money." They say no to, but then bitches about everything they do after the fact. Yeah, it's Disney. They're going to do it their own way.
Of course.
I thought when he came out, was it 2015 or whatever it was, and he's like, "Oh, Disney's nothing but a bunch of slavers." I'm like, you knew what you were getting into, and now you're wanting to do nothing but talk shit. Whatever. I love the guy, but he just doesn't make sense sometimes.
Well, it's like Ted Turner losing, TNT, Turner Broadcasting to AOL and being thrown off the board. And again, this is why I've never done stuff with corporate, because I watched all that stuff happen. I said, I never want to be a part of that. And I never have been. I've always been the independent person. You could call me the bastard child, but you know what? I always knew I was always going to outlast all of them, and I have.
Yeah. And you have, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. So, this weekend on Sunday, is it Sunday or tomorrow? I can't remember. Actually, it's tomorrow. DC Fandom is coming out. They're going to have the new premiere. They're going to have the trailers and teaser trailers for the Batman. They're going to have a new trailer for Wonder Woman, and they're going to do a bunch of other stuff. What do you see the likes of Warner Brothers / AT&T, whatever you want to call them? Where do you think they're going to go with their series of movies that they got coming out?
Well, AT&T is in heavy debt. Here's what they wanted. They wanted to do a thing on turning. Here's why AT&T brought Warner Brothers, Turner, TNT, Turner, that whole thing, because they wanted to have their own version of Netflix based with HBO. The entire team of HBO is gone, which made HBO. They were there for years. Nancy Lesnar was there from 1984. She left 4 months. She left about this time last year. After that, she was been there since 82, 84, HBO. That team, think of all those great shows that came out of there. Sopranos, Game of Thrones, you
6
name
Feet
it.
Under.
All of that. Yeah. That was under her watch. That marketing department was great. Turner doesn't have a marketing department. HBO, I hate to say it, when you break up a great team, it's hard to replace that team. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like the Last Dance, which is a great series where Netflix and ESPN went in, on Michael Jordan's last season. What happened, building up to. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it is on Netflix now because it's part of Netflix. But ESPN showed it. They got massive ratings because they had no sports, but it's a really good documentary or series.
Yeah.
Once you break up that team, it takes years to put that team together, a new team together. It doesn't work.
Yeah, because as I understand it, HBO Max is flopping and flopping hard.
Because they got nothing on there. Because you're a big corporation and you're in heavy debt, they won't take chances. Have you seen all the news of all the reboots of stuff that came out in the 80s and the 90s, the Love Boat, and all this stuff? Because they own the rights to it. It doesn't cost anything to remake them. If it doesn't make any money, or it makes a little bit of money, they didn't lose anything.
Yeah,
that's why the theaters are important. That's why they need the theaters. But I don't know what's going to happen with the theaters, because and I aren't going to go, and we're fans.
We're not. Yeah, I mean, they lost a lot of money when they didn't re-sign with Netflix on Friends, and they brought Friends over to HBO Max. However, they're like, oh, but we're still going to keep it on TBS daily for 3 hours. So what incentive do I have now to go get a brand new network that isn't offering me anything else that I can get? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me at all.
But did you see it coming? I'm sure you saw it coming just like I saw it coming.
Oh, absolutely. I did. I absolutely did. But
a blind person could see it coming.
Yeah. But I think, and even with NBC Comcast, with the Peacock network, it's like, why invest?
On there. And I like NBC. There's nothing on there. The only thing I watch is Blacklist.
The only thing I've watched on there is Psych the movie, Psych the second movie, Glass You Come Home. But they have, if I want to go watch Psych, I get Amazon Prime for free through Sprint or T-Mobile, whatever. And I get but it's still on Amazon Prime. So what do I need Peacock for? I mean, they have what? Exactly. They have a couple new shows on there. One with David Schwimmer. Then they have a new Punky Brewster show coming out, and then they have a reboot of Saved by the Bell. But what else do they have? They've got nothing.
Nothing. The answer is nothing, and you already know that.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad, isn't it?
It is. And if it wasn't free through Xfinity, which is my cable provider, I would never get it. But it's a free thing. It's a free thing on my thing. So okay, cool. But I think they're charging I think it's only $4.99, which isn't too bad. But still, it's like, what's another subscription package for? I mean, if that rate, if you get Netflix, Amazon Prime, you get Hulu, Disney Plus, Peacock, HBO Max. People.
You might as well just get Hulu. And if you got kids, you'll get Disney Plus. But you might be able to get a little bit of Disney Plus is always on its own. But Hulu, you can get the add-ons and everything. So that's the better way to go. Because I'm missing stuff on Amazon because I'm not paying for that because I might get the links. But I would like to watch stuff on Amazon. But again, like I said, I don't want to shell out extra. And who's got that money to shell out extra? I mean, I can do it, but it doesn't make sense, like you just said.
Yeah, because, I mean, streaming and cutting the cord was supposed to save us money. And in reality, it's not saving anybody money. Because, I mean, I originally cut the cord 4 or 5 years ago, and I went to DirecTV Now when it first launched. And it was only like $20 a month, and it was cheaper just to get that. But then it went to like $60 a month, and I'm like, what the hell's the point? So I went back to Xfinity, and now I'm paying, $100 a month for a full cable package and my internet connection at 200 megs, which is perfect for what I do. And then I still have, I have a bunch of free service. Again, I have Netflix for free through Sprint as well, and Amazon Prime for free. And it's like, okay, but I have no incentive to go anywhere else because, I mean, it's just... It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We were supposed to be saving money. Now we're spending more money. Cable channels are... I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And there's nothing there to replace it.
Yeah. There's really not. I mean, Sling TV is good. Whatever the AT&T thing is now, what AT&T TV, which what used to be DirecTV now, and then whatever else, Hulu has its own package now, YouTube has its own package now, and then you've got Xfinity, then you've got whatever Bright House became, and all this other channels, Charter and all this other stuff, and it's like, what are we doing? And I think they're missing the boat.
I'm not doing that.
Here. But I'm saying, but that's what they're, I think when it comes to movies and TV, they're missing the boat here, because they could be doing something grand, and and they just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me anymore.
Yeah,
really.
No, I get it. And again, there was an organization called TCA, Television Critics Association. I was never a member of that because I wouldn't join them, and they didn't want to have me because I was getting better interviews than they were. So they would get jealous. But it was one of those things where you had a new cable, or when Hulu and Comcast, Netflix come in, you could get a chance to sit and talk and do the interviews with the executives, founders, and all the new whatever show would be on there. You would sit and talk with all of them. That's what I love to do. That's kind of what got me out of home video, when I was being able to go to the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills and sit down and talk to Kevin Smith. You remind me of Kevin Smith. I've been wanting to say it for a while. I'm sitting there and doing all that. Well, here's the thing. Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino, and myself were the only three that came out of home video. We actually worked in those stores. They were actors, directors, and producers, and I wasn't interested in this stuff. I just wanted to do the interviews. I wanted to be that person to talk to you about movies.
Yeah. I wanted to talk more about DC fandom, and I got completely sidetracked. Have you got any insight or what's going to happen tomorrow? Yeah, it's tomorrow. At DC fandom.
It'll be different. I saw a thing where I could join in to do like an interview or whatever, because I wanted to know what was going to happen with Flash, because I finally got a chance to see all of the Flash. And
yes.
If I was going to be a character, I would be the Flash in the DC world. I don't know who I would be in the Marvel world. Maybe Captain Marvel. I think she's cool. I think I would probably be Captain Marvel, but I was always wanted to be the Flash.
Gotcha. The only thing I know about the Flash movie is what everybody else knows, is that it's going to be based off of Flashpoint. And supposedly Michael Keaton is coming back, and Ben Affleck. And supposedly the movie is going to bring together all the different universes and put them into one classification. So all the CW shows, the movies, now will finally be in the same realm, the same universe, or obviously different universes.
And it's interesting. It took me, I think it took me a little bit over a month to watch all 6 seasons of The Flash. Because here's the thing, there was 23 episodes, and I was like, holy crap! I'm used to 13 on Netflix or British shows, which are 4, 6, and they call it a season. I was like, oh my god! But luckily I could get to it. I didn't have enough time to go and start the Green Arrow or what was it, Black Lightning. I'm like, I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
Especially with 22, 23 episodes. And then I looked at him like, oh my god, he did 7 seasons at 23 episodes. I'm like, you know how long it would take me to get through that now? I don't have that time.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got Supergirl, which is now in season 5, I think, going into season 5.
Huh? 5 now? God.
Yeah, because it was 2 years or 1 year on CBS, and then it went to CBW after that. So maybe it's season 4.
I saw the whole first season. And then you get busy with life. And then I'm like, oh my god, they got 23 episodes. How am I going to get through that?
Yep. And now Batwoman, which I don't know what they're going to do with that, because what's her name quit the show.
They're dropping out,
yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. But DC's got a mess on their hands, and I'm curious to see how they clean it up, because they've got so much canon and so much other stuff to play off of, and nobody knows their ass from a hole in the ground with what's going on over there. And I think,
and Legendary just laid off people. And who owns Legendary? AT&T.
Yep. Exactly.
So you can see it's all screwed up. They're in heavy debt. I don't know how they don't get out of that. You can't do it by the subscriptions, and you got no revenue coming from movie theaters. So what are you going to do? You got to lay off more people.
Yeah. And what really pissed me off was last year when Joker came out, the amount of money that AT&T, Time Warner, put out to make sure that got the Oscar nod, and to make sure that Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor, to make sure that that was the first time a comic book movie ever won Best Actor, was ridiculous. Because the thing about it was, he as great as he was in that movie, if you're going to talk comic book performances, Robert Downey Jr. blew him out of the water last year. And it was only because Robert Downey Jr. specifically said, I'm not pandering to them. I have no reason to. If they want to give it to me on my own merit, that's fine. But I'm not going to pander to them. And he didn't even get nominated because he didn't pander. But AT&T said, Joaquin Phoenix is going to get this because we want to prove we're the best. And they're not the best. All they did was spend a shit ton of money to prove it.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, I remember interviewing Robert. There was just three of us, and one of my friends from England was leaving that day, so they both came with me. They sat in the corner. It was a film that Jodie Foster directed. It was a small independent film. This is before he gets Iron Man. 2 films later, Iron Man comes up. You can imagine that. This is Robert Downey Jr. Look where he is now. You can't touch him. But this is when he was breaking into houses. Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, everybody's coming to his rescue. And it was just a nice conversation. 3 of us interviewing Robert Downey. I think we talked to him for 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. I bet you Tom Cruise is kicking himself in the ass over that one because he was supposed to be the original Iron Man. But, I don't think anyone could have done it better because Robert Downey Jr. embodies Tony Stark 100%.
It's always interesting and when you talk to actors, when they let their guard down on the roles that they should have done. Because if you think of Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, you know who was supposed to have that?
Oh my
Will
God.
Smith.
Yes.
So when you hear those things like that, it's really funny. And then if you have someone that you don't get along with, think of where Terrence Howard would have been if he stayed in that series. It's called sequel money. But guess what? He and Robert didn't get along. So in comes Don Cheadle.
Yep. And same thing with Norton. Norton backed out, and then they brought in Ruffalo. And now it's like, and I think Ruffalo did a better job anyway.
Yeah, Mark, they're both good actors, but, Mark was better.
Yeah, and, for a long time, I thought Norton was probably one of the best actors of my generation. And he proved that with the movie Primal Fear. The way he...
absolutely.
Oh, my God. The way he pulled that off. Going back and forth and getting people to believe that... I believed it. I mean, it was just so epic the way he pulled that off. And then he just kind of went down this downward spiral of shit, and it's just like, man. But to each his own, I guess. To each his own. So what do you think, about... You think it's a dumb idea that they're putting movies in theaters right now at all?
Yes, because it's not safe. I understand why they have to. They have no choice but to. But there aren't any movies to go see. There just aren't. You and I just admitted we're not going to go see a movie for our own reasons.
Yeah.
And believe me, that's where I've been going to escape for years. I'm used to going to private screening rooms. I might be the only one in the screening room. I might have 10 people when I go pay to see a movie if I don't have a ticket, if I'm seeing cross country. I do that. I like the waiting in line because it gives me a chance to talk to people who don't know who I am. But to see their enthusiasm, just going to see a movie with their kids, that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
You don't have that, Yeah. But I'm also glad that people are going to the drive-in. So good. That's what we have to do,
that's what I was getting ready to ask you next. Do you think AMC, Regal, even Alamo should invest in opening up drive-ins again?
Absolutely. This virus is not going away for 5 years, so you have to learn to live with it. Like I said, be able to adapt, to adjust to the new change. And if you don't do that, you either are going to lose your life, literally, and or your business, if not both.
Yeah, because what I like about the drive-ins, and I've been sprouting this for a while, is they're not only just showing movies right now, they're also putting on concerts. They're also putting on comedy shows. Like Bert Kreischer is out right now doing a world American tour just at drive-ins. I think
and good. You gotta be creative.
Yeah, I mean, and musicians are doing the same thing.
Everything has to be done outside.
Yeah, and it's definitely the way. It's funny to think that the way of the past is now the way of the future.
Everything is a circle of life.
Yeah, it really is.
But I think it's great because those kids now never got the experience to go in the car with their parents. I remember when my dad took me to see Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee on the big stage.
Yeah, the first movie I ever remember seeing, and I'm sure I went to drive-ins, other times, but the only time I ever remember going to a drive-in was when E.T. came out. I remember going to see E.T. in the drive-in. Wow. I'll never forget that. But I've been to other drive-ins, and I know I've done it, but I can't place it. But I want that same experience again because that was epic for me, especially at such a young age.
Yeah. You could have your blanket. You could sit in the back seat. You might fall asleep. The kids, everybody had their popcorn and stuff. That was you went as a family most of the time. And then as you got older in high school, you went as kids. People snuck in the back of their trunk, all kinds of stuff. It was fun,
Yeah. Yep. Now they just charge by the carload. But it's exactly. I'm concerned about what's going to happen and how this is all going to go down, because it's eventually going to get to the point where we're going to lose interest, and these people need to get under control what they want to do, because we want to be entertained. We are begging for it. There's only the fall season's supposed to be coming up soon. What fall seasons of TV shows? Fall season. They're exactly as I'm saying. That's supposed to start kicking up this month and next month. We still don't even have the season finale from April, March of Walking Dead yet. It's finally finished, and we're getting it in October. So it's like, what are we doing? There's only so many repeats and things on Netflix and Hulu that I can watch. Where's the interest? And I don't see them making the effort. They're all about making the money, but in reality, they need to be putting it out there for us to even give a chance to do anything at all. And I'm hoping Mulan does well with the $30 tier. I really hope it does, because I think it's going to set a precedent. Because, and with what Bill and Ted is doing, I think that's kind of a good idea, putting it in theaters and video on demand on the same day. But I don't know how that's going to go. So, I mean, and plus the new kids, the Gen Xers or whatever they are, the Gen Zers, whoever they are, aren't going to care about Bill and Ted. The only people that care about Bill and Ted are probably me and you and all the other people from the 90s and 80s that watched the original. And the only reason I want to even go see it is because I want to see
where Keanu Reeves really came from.
Yeah, and I want to see Keanu Reeves do something other than John Wick. So I'm kind of curious to see how he acts.
You got one more John Wick.
No, two more.
Yeah.
Two more. They're doing 4 and 5 simultaneously, which is very interesting to me. Very similar to the way they did.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way they did Infinity War and Endgame. They did it back to back, and simultaneously at the same time. But, the only thing I want to know is, what are they going to do with the George Carlin character? So I'm kind of curious just for that. God rest his soul, but so I'm curious about that.
Him and Robin Williams.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I gotta put Joan Rivers in there too.
Yeah.
Joan was always very nice to me. I miss Robin Williams. I see something that comes up every couple of days on him. I wish I had his number. I always believe this, Derek. If I had his number and email, I would have saved him.
Yeah.
I would have been calling him all the time because anytime I did I think I'm the only person that's happened to. I made Robin Williams cry for the night listener. He made me cry when he died.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know him personally. I never talked to him. Obviously, you did. But when he died, I cried as well. Because I remember that night.
One of the reasons why that happened is because he turned me on to Doctors Without Borders. Because the question was, I asked him, what's I knew he had a favorite charity. What's your favorite charity if you have one, and why? And he got emotional because he was always going over to Iraq and Afghanistan and obtaining the troops. And he goes, it's Doctors Without Borders. Thank you for asking. Now, here's the thing. Robin is always on. This is the first time he wasn't on. He was very emotional, if you can imagine that. You'll never see this. This is the first time we ever saw that. Because every time Robin came into our rooms, he would make us laugh because we weren't supposed to laugh. We were in a quiet room, all radio. We needed clean sound bites and everything like that. He would do everything to make us laugh, and we did. And then we got out of system, but he was always entertaining. This is the one time ever I've ever seen him. And I've never been able to see anything where he's just very serious. Outside of a movie, like The Fisher King. Never.
Yeah.
He actually teared up. And he goes, I'm sorry. I get teary. It's because he did great things.
Yeah. He was one of my biggest inspirations to get into stand-up comedy. And I remember when he passed away, that same night, when it was ABC Family, they changed their lineup that night and they put on Aladdin. And they did a huge dedication to him within that. I mean, Disney put together something fast that same day. And when at the end, when he said, Al, I'm going to miss you. Oh, man, I broke down. I mean, that was rough. And, just to think he's had such an impact, and
absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about that. Being that you knew him personally, because I have my own feelings on it. Do you think Will Smith was the right choice for Genie?
Who else were you going to get?
Honestly, the only person that I would have chose would have been Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay, interesting choice.
Because I think...
Well, they went with a name because of what was going on. Was it the right choice? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think if they were going to redo it...
And box office reflects it, too.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you didn't have the Robin Williams version and you will go in there, clear-headed, thinking this is its own separate thing, it was decent. It was decent. Still not great, but it was decent. But the only thing that you could hear the entire time, every time Will Smith opened his mouth, was Robin Williams just doing his thing, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I the legend, and it's not just a legend, it's a fact, but that he did so many improvisational things and they recorded it all that they could have made 3 or 4 different movies just from the stuff they didn't use from the first movie. And they actually did make the part 2, Aladdin 2, without him even being there. And they wanted to use his voice again because they still had all this stuff. His family said no. But it's like nobody else could do that. But I think the only person that would come close and at least give us that almost similar aura would have been Gabriel Iglesias for me. Because it needed to be a comedian and it needed to be someone who can think on their feet. And that's Gabriel Iglesias for me.
I would have loved to have seen a female version of that with like an Amy Schumer.
See, I could have seen that happen too. Schumer or even no, I think Schumer would probably have been the only one. But that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see Will Smith. No offense to Will Smith. I think he's great. You know, I thought he was going to suck as Deadshot in Suicide Squad, but he didn't. He was badass. You know, but Genie, I'm sorry, he was just the wrong choice. Wrong choice. And I will say that till the day I die. Even if I met him, I'll be like, dude, I'm sorry. I love you to death, but you should have said no.
My old co-host Bill Margold used to say, when it comes to movies, there are not any right or wrong opinions. Everyone has one, and everyone's entitled to that.
Yep.
And when he said that made a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely. And that's why a lot of actors these days, at least, don't really care about what the critics say. I don't really care about the critics say. I mean, when I go to Rotten Tomatoes, I don't care what the critics are saying. I want to know what the audience is saying, what the audience score is, because that's what matters. You know,
absolutely.
Sorry, you know, I mean, if you're looking at
you're absolutely right. I had a publicist write to me an email with no phone number, and I couldn't get him to respond back. Are you RT certified? I go, what's that? Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, I don't need Rotten Tomatoes. I have more views than Rotten Tomatoes. Plus, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It matters that we're talking like this. We're talking about a movie or shows or wrestling. That's what matters.
Absolutely. Because, again...
It makes people want to go out and find it and look at it.
Yeah, I mean, when, you know, a movie comes out, like I said, I mean, the critics don't matter. I've never cared about what the critics... I want to know what the people are saying. Because, you know, I remember when Heath Ledger was cast as Joker, you know, a lot of the DC fanboys were, you know, curious, but with a, you know, were mad, but with a decent open mind. But the critics were all over, oh my God, I can't believe that he's going to ruin the character, blah, 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 blah. And he deserved to win the Oscar that year. And he did. And, you know, that just goes to show you. Because, I mean, I've seen some of the worst rated movies loved by the people, you know, and that's just how it goes.
That's
Kevin
why
Smith,
you would never know what box office would be like on a Friday. You could predict it. There were people who were very good at predicting it, but you never really knew. You know, I remember doing the interviews for Blair Witch, and there'd be lines outside, and I was like, "Is that Blair Witch open?" And I was like, "Wow." If they're going to that theater, which was the New Art at that point, and I had done the interviews, and I was like, "Wow." And a lot of people didn't get the movie. But the audience got it, didn't it? You remember that movie, Blair Witch?
Yeah. For the longest time, people thought it was real. They thought it was 100%, you know, real documentary. Still, people to this day will watch it and be like, was that a documentary or was it fake? And they did a great job masking that. And the critics didn't get it, but the people did. And the mystery behind it for at least a year, but when it finally was revealed that it was an actual movie, people were like, okay, but it was still amazing because it confused us for that long. And that's what it really comes down to, because I mean, getting edgy isn't always sometimes the best way to do it. Sometimes it's just going back to basics. You know, I remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, there was this horrible movie. I cannot even remember the name of it. I started to watch it, and I literally walked out of the theater. It was shot in first person, to where basically the actor was wearing a GoPro the entire time. I cannot remember the name of the movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was.
I know, I've seen it. I'm trying to remember. I know I've seen it.
It was so bad. And had a weird name to it, but it was just so bad, and they thought it was edgy and cool and, you know, new, and it was horrible. My brain didn't know what I was watching half the time. The story was all over the place. It gave me a headache because I couldn't stand to watch it. Nope. Sorry, I'm not gonna watch a movie in first person ever again. You know, show me somebody skydiving with this GoPro in their head, cool. Shoot a movie that way? Nope. But yeah, that was.
I can remember certain scenes from that movie. What you're talking about, I did see. I can't remember the title right now. But I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's they invested a lot in the movie, it invested a lot of the advertisement, and it completely flopped because it was just bad. And I remember a lot of critics saying, "Oh, this is the new way of the future," and the audience hated it. I don't think it was in theaters longer than a week or two. It got pulled quick, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, whatever is going to happen in the next year has me very, very curious. Has me really, really curious. And I don't know. But I hope and pray that movies like Tenet, Black Widow, I mean, hell, even the next movie after that, The Eternals, bring us back to a point of enjoyment again. Whether that's at home, whether that's at a drive-in, or maybe possibly a movie theater eventually down the line. But I think you're right. I think the next 5 years, we're not going to be able to do those things the way we used to.
No, not at all. So if you can be able to adapt, adjust, and with that change right now, you'll be good. Because that's what you have to do.
Yeah. But honestly, I do think, video on demand might be the best option because, like I said before, $45 just for a family of 3. That's not including drinks or food or popcorn or anything else. Buying it for $30 might be the way to go because not everybody could afford that $45 tickets. Now maybe they could afford that $30, or maybe they could afford that $20, depending on
They can't afford it now. You just don't know how many people can afford it now.
Correct. Yeah, and that's another thing too. But I guess the only way we're gonna know is to try. But
right.
I don't think anyone's willing to. But I don't think they're willing to.
I want to see what it doesn't do.
Yeah, but I think the biggest test is going to be Mulan, and I think everybody from Universal to Disney, obviously, to Warner Brothers, and everybody in between is wanting to see what happens with that. Because I think from there, I think the sky's the limit if it goes over right. And I think Disney's advertising the shit out of it right now. You can't turn on the TV or open up your laptop without seeing an ad for it. So I think it might pull it off. I really do.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. I mean, absolutely we will. I mean, September 4th is right around the corner. It's going to be interesting. It really, really will be. But I'm hoping and praying that something happens because I want to get back to at least some set of reality. And movies is the way I do it, especially Marvel and Disney and stuff like that, action. But if they're not going to make the effort, we're eventually going to lose interest in it. And I think at that point, independent filmmakers are going to start, and capitalizing on the stupid shit that Warner Brothers and AT&T, Xfinity, or Comcast, or whoever the hell whatever you want to call them, are not doing. And I think independent people are going to start really raking it in, and they're going to start making big, massive deals with, Netflix or Amazon, and we're going to start seeing some changes.
Absolutely. Already have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think some of the independent filmmakers are making some of the best movies out there today. So.
Well, that's why we don't want to lose independent filmmakers.
Yeah. So, I talked about this a little bit last night with my guest. Crowdfunding is really, really important now. So if you guys see a movie that you want to be made, and you're on, GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever else, and you have the opportunity to invest in a movie that you might want to see made, do it. I mean, it's, the independent filmmakers need people like you and me to help them with that in order to make the good movies. And, Disney is not making them right now. Xfinity is not making them right now, or Comcast, whatever. AT&T's not doing it. They're making them, but they're not doing anything with them. So we need something.
No.
We need something.
They need to make as much money as possible, and independent film is not going to happen for them.
Exactly. So let's just hope and pray again. I can't say that enough, that something changes.
Absolutely. I hear you.
Yep. Otherwise, a year from now, it's all going to go away.
Yep.
It's very possible.
We're watching it all from home right now as it is.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, I think one of them needs to finally step up and say, look, this is how we're doing it, and we'll reevaluate in a year or two. But, you know, the whole waiting game is pissing people off. It really is. And I've seen it firsthand. People are pissed. You know, especially, you know, the DC and the Marvel fanboys. You know, that's, you know, those people are the bread and butter of the movie industry right now. Comic book fans are the bread and butter. And, you know, without them, you know, they're not going to be making money, and they need to be pleasing the people and not their damn pocketbooks.
Yes, exactly.
So, I appreciate you being here tonight. I had a lot of fun talking to you. You are, you're an inspiration to me because I have been following you for a while. And like I said, when I got the email about you coming on, I was really stoked. So thanks for coming on my show and, you know, chit chat with me for the last hour and 20 minutes. Wow. Look at that.
Time flies.
It does. When you're having a good time and, you know, a good interview, it just flies. Yeah. And I had that fun tonight. So I can't thank you enough, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Everybody go check out, you know, Movies Reveal More.
We'll be returning the favor for you.
Say that again?
I said, we'll be returning the favor for you. We'll have you on our show.
Oh, dude. I would absolutely love that.
I'll bring you on with one of our other movie critics, and then I'll have Sherry on it too.
I love Sherry.
Because I have 13 women co-hosts.
Okay. Yeah, Sherry Nelson is one of my favorite people on earth now. Oh my God. The conversation I had with her last month, such a sweet Canadian girl. I love that lady so much. So yeah, no, you tell me when, I'll be there, bud. I would love to have that opportunity.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you'll get a whole different perspective on us, how we interviewed them, and then our favorite movies. That'll be fun for you.
Oh, absolutely. Again, me just being a movie buff alone. Screw the fact that I do this for a living too. Just me being a movie buff alone is, you know, you're exciting the nerd in me. my nerd is going crazy.
But that's good, because if I had Disney Plus, and I might break down and get it. I might. I'll be watching Endgame tonight.
I've literally watched it 30 times since it got released in November. I've sat down and watched that movie countless times, and you know what? It still brings me to tears every time. And that shot where every single hero that's been brought on the screen in the last 11 years, 10 years at the time, you know, and he finally
It is definitely one of the best movies ever.
It really is. Because, like I said, especially for the nerd in me, when he said Avengers Assemble for the first time in 10 years, just thinking about it right now gives me goosebumps. I mean, it's just so epic. God, I love that movie. Now I want to go watch it again. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you name the time and place, and I'll be there. I would love to be on your show, so thank you very much for that opportunity.
Oh yeah, I kind of already know. I've already got it hooked up in my head already.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
All right.
Absolutely. But yeah, you've got my information. Just shoot me an email and we'll talk. Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being on.
Hey, no, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day, you know, especially on a Friday. to come talk to me. So I really do appreciate it. This has been a great conversation, and I could talk to you all night about movies, bud. But I guess we got to save some for your
There's
show.
enough of them.
There's enough of them. Exactly. We didn't even go into Maverick or all the other, Tenet or anything else. We talked about it for a second, but we didn't even go into all that ones. Those are stuff I'm waiting for. But at the same time, the more important question is how right now, because what's the point of getting all excited for something that we might not even see right now? So,
And here's the other thing, Derek. Ask your friends if they would go to the movies. If not, why? If they're willing to, why?
Oh yeah, and I think I know for a fact the friends in the company that I keep is not going to go. I can without even asking, I can tell you right now, they would say absolutely not.
So,
I mean,
very, 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 very. I don't know anybody who's going. I know one guy. He would go, but only in Puerto Rico.
I'd probably go to a movie in Taiwan because they seem to have it figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and South Korea.
Yep. I haven't figured. I mean, if they were doing it, I'd probably, that's about it. But not here.
That's pretty bad when we have to jump on a plane to go see a movie.
It's pretty bad when we're supposed to be one of the powerhouse countries in the entire world, and the one thing that we're the best at right now is being the worst at something.
Exactly. That's pretty sad.
It is. But that's what we got here in America right now, unfortunately.
Yep.
But again, I look forward to talking to you again on your show and doing it in your way. I look really forward to that. So, like I said, you just let me know and I'll be there.
Okay.
But
I'll line it up.
Thank you very much for being here on my show tonight, especially on a Friday. I hope everything goes well for you, and we will talk again soon, man. I really do appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate it. And best of luck to you. Keep doing what you're doing, Derek, because it's working.
I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. It means a lot coming from you. But
and I always say this, if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it right now.
I do have a bright smile, don't I? That's the one thing I know about myself is that I have a bright and shiny smile.
Well, give it to one of your friends that doesn't have it then.
I will try. But yeah, those words mean a lot to me. You have no idea. I appreciate that. But yeah, we'll talk again soon, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. What a night. What a conversation that just was. I'm just in awe of that man and just the compliments he just gave me, too. That was amazing. But that wraps up another fantastic week of Suck It Podcast. Join me Monday, where we've got an action-packed Monday. Holy shit. So we got the mental health hour. Lighthearted, just mental health show where we make a few jokes, but we talk about the heart of the issues. That's at noon East, 9 West, Monday afternoon. This week we'll be joining a mental health survivor, a mental health patient, someone that has dealt with this for a very long time and is going to be speaking out about his issues. And we're going to have a great conversation with him. And believe it or not, it's actually my brother. So you get to meet my brother on Monday at noon, 9 West. And then Monday night. This is going to be a big one. Remember this past Monday how I had Tim Moss on? Remember last Thursday when I had Ike Avelli on? I'm going to have them both on Monday. So join me on Monday because we've got an action-packed day filled for you. Fun. Bring a diaper, bring a bag of Depends, bring a towel, and make sure you sit on it for Monday's show at 8 o'clock East, 5 p.m. West. Because Ike Avelli and Tim Moss are just going to make you laugh so hard, You're going to piss yourself. I know I'm going to come prepared, so y'all better come prepared too. But Monday at noon, my brother will join us on the Mental Health Hour, and then Ikevelli and Tim Moss at 8 o'clock that night. But until then, y'all have a great fucking weekend. Stay healthy, stay happy, and as always, stay heavy. Peace!